Perfect. All right. So we're just gonna have a little conversation about what's been going on lately, and everybody else they can jump in whenever they can, because I'm late, and I my apologies, but we'll get this going as soon. We'll get this going as people do jump in. All right. So we are now live, and everything is running smoothly. All right. So we've been going through a lot this week, as far as all the stuff you've been hearing from the legislative branch and also through the Supreme Court. And it's been it's been hairy on hairy on hairy all week.
True.
For the last couple of weeks, matter of fact. So YouTube. So let's have a conversation. So I know that you're deep as far as everything. So I have no problem talking to you and anybody else who has to jump in when they can. First of all, I did start this group. I did rename it only because the fact it was not, the name didn't suit me. So God kept telling me, change your name, change your name, change your name. I'm like, okay, let's find a name. Now, here comes the good part. What name, God? What name? You told me to name it. Okay, I named it. Now what? So that was it. I'm like, okay, so what do we do? And God does not answer in my time. So I waited and waited and waited and waited and waited so patiently until God just said, blip, here's a word. Throw it right into my pocket, which I already had anyway, but it was just, it was God's crusade. It is crusade. It is a crusade. I admit it. This has been a crusade that landed in my pocket, that landed in my lap from God. God told me to save his children. He didn't tell me how. Never told me how to go about it. Didn't address which way to go about it. Just said, do it. Okay. Now what you want me to do? I told you, save my children. Okay. It never got anything, and never got an answer. No, nothing further than that. Just save my children. I'm like, okay, how do you want me to do this, God? God said, I told you what to do. Okay. So I waited patiently again, and here we are. So now my new title is We Are All God's Children, Fact or Fiction. Reason why I named it was because of everything that's been going on for the last 3 weeks. So it kind of, made it so convenient to have this name change and to actually put the players according to how I want them. So now everybody strategically in this group according to how I need you. So I need some people on the outside actually looking inside. I need some people inside, so that now you all are strategically put. And I'm not done yet. I'm still working on some kinks. So let's get started. Let's start with Supreme Court, shall we? So, Pastor Cassandra, as my favorite friend and colleague, let's go. Supreme Court and all these rules. What the hell were they thinking this week? Oh my God. Oh my God. If it wasn't one thing, it was something else. It's like they were targeting not just the LGBT community, but they were targeting the trans women. That was the biggest issue. Now, I saw a little bit about the trans men. Don't get me wrong, they were out there. However, the biggest thing was the trans women. So my biggest concern was why it happened so bad that you had to experience so much to actually target the trans women in our community. That was number one. Number two was who who did this and why. You know what I'm saying? It became so obvious when it was all the men and one woman on Supreme Court. Now we know we have three women, and two of the women did not go with the Supreme Court, but the one did, and all the men. I found it very strategically placed that that happened. So let's chat. How did how in God's green earth they decide to just we can't have the transgender women. Now it was targeted strategically. It was targeted strategically on the women. We can't have them play sports in high school. We can't have them do this. We can't have them do that. We can't. It just got the power got thicker and thicker and thicker and thicker to the point now where you got students and teachers of the schools actually some saying I agree, some children saying I agree because some of them I don't know how true that was about someone getting hurt. I'm not sure because my whole thing is this: how did you know that was a trans woman that hurt you? So that was my biggest concern. Two, my biggest concern also was about the fact that how in the world that only trans women get targeted. That was my biggest thing. So it is the power got thicker and thicker and thicker. Give me your opinion. What the heck is going on and why why they're targeting specifically trans women?
From what I can see, it's the easiest target because trans men, you don't know they're trans unless you have seen them undressed or you know their business beforehand.
Right.
Trans women are more clockable. They're more easily to tell in some states that you are trans. And it makes people uncomfortable that you don't fit into a binary box or look the way they assume you should look. And they feel that even though you're trans, you still have the same abilities you had as a male. And they forget that when you take hormones that change your muscular structure, your physical prowess, everything changes. So you can no longer identify physically as you used to be.
Right.
To them, it's still the same thing. They don't see a change, don't see a difference. Because
But that's not true though.
They don't get that. To them, it's your chromosome pattern. Your chromosome
exactly.
pattern is this, and that's what you're always going to be, no matter how much your physical structure changes. To them, it's about the chromosomes. They don't
But
care
wait
about
a minute.
emotional health.
Right.
They don't care.
But wait a minute. Let's get what is due. We got Bruce Jenner who changed over and changed back, and he just like I'm gonna do the hokey pokey for a minute. But when he first changed over, you couldn't tell when he actually transitioned. Let's do that one. Also, there's a whole lot of trans women. You have to look very, very, very closely to see whether or not they're trans. So
But those
I
are the
don't
ones, but those are the ones who have the financial resources
right.
to do so. So Kate Jenner, she has the resources to do so. Cher's son has the resources to do so. All the other individuals who are now living in stealth have the resources to do so. The ones who are
Right.
not, they still have the resources to become passable,
Right.
to fit into the binary box. So because of their money and their affluence, they're acceptable. But for those that don't have the money or affluence, you're targeting them because it makes you feel better about yourself.
Oh, so you do believe that they're targeting because of that reason?
I do, because why else would you target people who just want to live their life and don't need your permission to live their life, but you want to put resources that are available to youth to want to change and become themselves at a halt, or now imprisoned parents or give them a jail time or threaten them if you help your youth change.
That's true.
That's a parent's choice.
Exactly.
Now you're governing parenting rights of a parent and your state and federal. Who gives you that right?
That was my biggest. That's my biggest thing. My biggest thing was that now you're taking rights away from the parents. I don't understand what in God's name told them they can do that. A parent should be able to parent their children if they want them to, if they agree with their child to actually transition, I don't understand why you feel like, as a Supreme Court, that you can actually indulge in a parent's in a parent and say, well, I'm not gonna allow any parent at all to sit there and allow their children to transition. And if they do, they will get thrown in jail. I'm confused.
Because unfortunately, the parents' insurance companies are the financial holders. So if you tell an insurance company that is federally supported, state supported, if you continue to support this, we're going to pull your state and federal support. Insurance companies have no choice but to get on board, whether they agree or not. And if your parent works for the state or the city, then it becomes a question, well, will you cover this for my child?
Right.
So you have the purse strings of the medical part of it in your hand, and you don't separate the medical from the purse string. You don't separate your religion from the medical purse string. They're two separate things.
Exactly. That's what I was saying. What in God's green earth gave me audacity to sit there and tell the parent that you are not allowed to sign a waiver for your child to state that they can transition. I am for it. Why? You know what I'm saying? And I get what you're saying, but at the same time, you're taking the rights of a parent away. So
They don't
now
see it that
what
way.
we're doing.
They don't see it that way. They see it as they're protecting their interests.
Whose interest?
The
Whose?
the government and the state.
Government and wait a minute, government and state of a child. Wait a minute, hold on, back up. From last time I checked, we were a free country. We're not Russia.
We're
So
we're
what in the world?
supposed to be free in certain things. An example was on this young man who he wanted gender affirming surgery. His
Right.
parents agreed to it. His parents did had the surgery and did everything to do. Then their doctor was sued because he did the surgery. It's unreal because it's against state law now to do that. But the doctor is in the best interest of the child.
So the doctor was sued because he decided to do the surgery. Who sued them? The state, which I don't understand. I don't, like I said, I don't get it. Why in the world do you feel the audacity to tell a parent that they cannot do that for their child? If that is a mental state and the child says, I want to do it because that's going to improve my mental state, there should not be anyone in the way to say you can't. That's my biggest concern right there. That should not be in any law at all.
I agree. Unfortunately, this country does not have a good stance on mental health.
Obviously.
And they just really started helping mental health patients with PTSD. So it's hard to now have them wrap their mind around, oh, a youth knows who they are at the age of 5, 6, 7, 8. They know who they are. And they're assured enough to make a decision, and their parents really have to make the decision.
Right.
So we have things a little backwards in America. We say we protect our children. However, when our children say this is who they are, and their parents acknowledge who they are, then the state and government wants to step in and say, hold up, wait a minute. And that's not fair to the parent or the child. But you hurt the child because now the child can't be who they truly are. And you want to wait till they're 18, which by that point, the physical damage is irreversible. Now the child's got to live with characteristics they don't want to live with.
But that's what I'm saying. When like I said, I understand what you're saying, but when did the state and the government take over the parent? You know what I mean? Like I said, if we're a free country, according to what they say is free country is, let's put in quotation, because all of a sudden we become free anymore. So now that we are a free country we are now democrat, we are the free, home the brave, all the good stuff that we're supposed to be, right? We're not dictatorship, we're democracy. So when do we turn over from being democracy to back forward to backwards to dictatorship. When did that happen? Because like I said, we're not Russia, we're not Asia, we're not none of those countries who are on a dictatorship ruling. We're not. So what in the audacity right mind, the days decide, okay, we're gonna start doing this. So now you turn the clock backwards. That's the problem I'm having.
The clock has never really returned forward. See, the thing that the clock, we got better over a couple of years, things became easier, became a little bit more relaxed, but we never really turned the clock forward because certain things were never really law. So it was just a line and a blurb. Example, emancipation rights. Things are changing. Voting rights, things are changing.
Right.
Reciprocity. People don't realize that marriages are under reciprocity. So if you're married in one state, another state chooses to recognize your marriage in good standing. Technically, they don't have to. Same with driving rights. Your driving license is valid in your state. Another state gives you reciprocity to say you can drive in their state because your license is valid in your state. Technically, they don't have to.
Right.
So there's been a lot of loopholes that people have not looked at and it's kind of like let pass. But now the loopholes are being closed.
Oh, okay. So basically, we were never free according to what democracy looks like.
Exactly.
Okay. So now everybody's saying, well, we're supposed to be free, right? But we're not according to democracy, what it means, because now you have a whole bunch of people saying it's not right. It's not right. We're gonna do this according to this law, and that's it. Again, so we're supposed to be the democracy according to how we were built on democracy. Then therefore, it should never made a democracy.
But see, it was never really a democracy. This country was built on slaves.
Right.
There's a museum in Atlanta, in Georgia, that shows they used Black people, Hispanic, and Chinese people to build this country. And as this country grew, the rights were given to those people of non-color. People of color, of brown and Black diasporas, had to fight to get rights to read, rights to drive, rights to own property, rights to build.
Right.
So it never really was democracy. There was just laws put in place to accommodate those who were, quote unquote, other colors, other hues. Now those laws are coming into question to say, do we want to keep these laws or do we want to remove these laws? It's like affirmative action. Yes, the Supreme Court just revoked it. But what I found in researching was there were already 9 states that had already would not ban race-based affirmative action years before this decision came. California banned it in 1996. Washington State in 1998 would not. Then they redid it and rescinded it in 2022. Florida in 1999, Michigan in 2006, Nebraska in 2008, Arizona in 2010, New Hampshire in 2012, Oklahoma in 2012, Idaho in 2020. They already banned these things.
Wow.
But no one ever mentioned them.
So you're trying to say that only the northern states are the ones who are free.
They're free to a point.
Right.
Because if you think about history, when did people of color in this country ever start to read? Okay. So you're talking about already starting off at disadvantage. Your great-grandparents, sometimes your grandparents couldn't really read. They could repeat what they heard, but they couldn't really read. So now you're talking about your parents, your uncles, aunts, trying to get a job that requires you to read, but you only read up to a certain level, if at all. But then you talking about the kids, our generations that were able to go to college, expect to do well in college. But how many people you know did well in college? I know someone who right now who's 45 years old, they have a 10th grade reading level, because not because they wanted to, because they stopped to go to work, help their parents support their family, and then went back to school.
Right.
They can't read your ticket on a price tag. And it's not that they didn't want to go to school, they couldn't. So where was the equality when it was needed? Where was the rights of people that want to learn to read, to get to learn and read, to pass it on to their children and their children's children? See, I'm really clear. In my family, a lot of people went to college. A lot of people got an education, as they call it.
Mhm.
It was privileged to do so. And back then, college was free.
Right.
You didn't pay for it. All you do is
Right.
study, pass, get your diploma, and keep on going.
Right.
By the time we got to college, it wasn't free.
Yeah, all of a sudden, hey, we had to pay for it.
And it was 110 per credit. Each class is 3 or 4 credits. That adds up. Who can afford to do that?
Pretty much.
So you're talking about, oh, go get this beautiful education, but can you afford to get this education? And
Okay.
that's tuition. That's not paying for your books. It's not paying for your room and board if you're still on campus. It's not paying for, transportation back and forth. Is this your tuition? Is this for the one class, 3 credits times 115, and you have to take 12 credits to be full-time?
Right.
Who can afford that?
Very, very true.
So you take out a student loan, you take out all these FAFSA and all these different loans and grants, but then they don't tell you if you don't finish, you got to pay the loan back. So now you dropped out because it was too much pressure and you wasn't really ready for it. But now you owe this money. So now you want to go back to school to try to finish. You can't because you have this bill that you got to pay for. You go back to school.
Wow.
So now you're stuck. You want to finish your degree. Now you're ready for it. But you got this back loan that you got to pay back before you can get re-enroll again. And depending on how long it's been since you've been out of school, your credits don't transfer over.
Right.
So you get a transcript to show what you've taken. But those credits, if it's been over 4 years, are now null and void. So you're starting all over again.
And that's the reason why we're not free.
So where's the equality in that?
Hey, I get it.
Then when you graduate and you get your degree, now you're competing with other people who are younger than you for the same position that will take less money than you're worth, but you're experiencing your degree.
Yeah, that's nuts.
So
That's
how do you support your family? Because by this point, you're in your 30s and 40s, you have a family. How do you support your family and still offer $12 an hour?
right.
$2 an hour. But somebody younger than you will take that because they're just starting out. They don't know no better.
Mm-mm.
And then as you get older, your rent goes. Now you want 3 times your rent to move in someplace, plus a month's security. Who has that kind of money sitting around just laying like, oh, is this the artist? Who has that kind of money?
Right.
Example in Charlotte, rent is $1,400. They want 2 months rent plus a month's security. And they want you to make 3 times the month for the rent. Who does that in Charlotte?
Nobody I know.
So you're putting people at a disadvantage. And with no affirmative action laws, now places don't have to consider you.
Mm-hmm.
Before there was a quota that they meet for their affirmative action. So much percentage of the building had to be low income housing to support and say you're doing something productive. Now you don't have to do that law anymore.
That's crazy.
So what happens to the people that are already in those housing situations that now have to be maybe moving because there are no any rules to protect them?
Right.
So we're free on some things. Some things are still a law that is kind of sort of helping and protecting. And other things we're still bound with.
I got it. I mean, I get it. Like I said, I get it, but I just find it really funny that we supposed to be the land of free and the home of brave, and we're not, because now now Supreme Court has decided, hey, we're gonna layer by layer by layer by layer
Mhm.
by layer.
Because
And
now the people that, as you said, that are in charge are
mhm,
lovely state and local governments, federal governments are making changes because the people that come out to vote, people that come out with the money says, we don't want this. It's not
yeah, but
benefiting us now.
exactly. But
Now they're not getting,
my whole thing is this in a nutshell. It's not affecting you. That's where the problem is starting. It's not affecting you. You're making it an issue only because you think it's affecting you, and it's not. That's my whole problem in a nutshell. That's what I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to figure out what the heck happened in Supreme Court. What the heck happened on the Republican side? What the heck happened in the legislative branch? What the heck happened to somebody somewhere in these daggone branches that all of a sudden that the trans community had become a stepping stool to say, okay, we're gonna sweep y'all away and put y'all underneath the rug and and hope and pray y'all disappear. And that's where I'm having a problem
it,
because the fact is that we vote, we we everything else, we live, we survive,
some,
we work.
some
You know,
people, and see the problem with the problem, and I agree with you, but the problem that I see is that some people vote.
right,
Some people go and access their law-given rights to talk to their politicians, their local
right,
people. Some people do not.
right.
And it's unfortunate that most of the
Please,
community has
please.
been told to be
Mhm.
unseen and unheard for your safety. So
Right,
you're unseen and unheard, your voice and opinion doesn't get out there. So
right,
now that you need to be seen and heard, you don't know how to be seen and heard. Because you've been told all the time, don't say anything, just be under the radar. Just do what you gotta do and work it out. And that doesn't work all the time. The other problem that I see is that some of our policies and procedures violate other parts of our Constitution. Like the affirmative action law was great, but it violated the 14th Amendment. And
mhm,
for years, no one ever looked at it, but now they did. They're like, oh, it violates the 14th Amendment. So now we have to restructure, if we want to restructure it to fit within the guidelines of the Constitution, which is never written to include anyone that's of non-color.
mhm.
And then you add on top of it, now the people of color have rights, but those rights are laws. They're not part of the Constitution.
Mhm.
The rights of women are not part of the Constitution. It's part of a law. Any law that was written into place and voted in place can be rescinded at any given time that our lovely government and Congress decides to do so. So the reality is all of us are living on quote unquote borrowed grace, borrowed mercy. Because at any time they say we want to retract the law, we're stuck. Because it's not part
Right,
of the Constitution. The only thing they don't mess with is the Constitution. Everything gets weighed against the Constitution. And it's unfortunate when the document was drawn up, we were not considered people.
right.
And then when laws changed in late 60s, 70s, now you like, I gotta give them credit. I gotta give her a voice. And then when the LGBT laws started coming into effect, oh, we can't put them down anymore. We can't look at them as like, ooh. So now who are we gonna put down to make us feel better? Who are we gonna step on to make us feel like we're a little bit above everybody else? So
Right.
now it comes down to the transgender individual. We're the ones who get stepped on. We're the ones who get talked about. We're the ones who get put down and looked at like, no matter how much your education is, they're always going to see this person as this. What kind of job you do, they're going to see you as this.
Right.
And it's sad, but unfortunately, that's how part of our country is.
That's and and you're right about that. But see, like I really am so interested to find out, and it's going to probably take a while for actually us to actually figure it out. why is it just the trans community? Why is it just the trans women? Because y'all basically now they're telling them you can't do any shows. You can't, you can't dress like this. You gotta actually, you have to go back to where you were, where your birthright, your birth, your birth sex, which is ridiculous as all get out. Because if you don't believe yourself to be a male, and you know deep down inside that you're not meant to be a male, why do you have to change, go back to your birth sex to please other people? That's the problem I'm having, you know what I mean? Because it's like I don't see too much of the trans men, even though they're probably out there. I've been looking. Lord knows I've been looking. I've been looking through paper, through Newsweek, through all different magazines, different papers, different websites. I have not seen too much of the trans male. I've seen more of the trans female. And like I said, I'm trying to figure out what happened. Did
You're missing,
someone
you're
step on you
missing
too much for
one,
that to happen?
you're missing one key component of that. Trans men are men, and men in this country have power.
Mm,
When I transitioned, I was told, why are you giving me your power? Why are you becoming less than? Why are you becoming, a non-voice? And these were by people that were in clergy. These were people that were in the community that were business owners and workers. And I'm like, this is how you see your mom, your sisters, your wives, your daughters. It was an eye opener.
okay.
So you're going from having the authority and the power to being less than. Because
Now,
women's
you really
rights,
believe that? Do you really believe that?
I don't believe it, but that's how the country is. Women's
Okay.
look back to women when women's rights were just put on the platform.
Right.
Woman couldn't get a driver's license without her husband's permission. If she wasn't married, it was her father. She couldn't vote without her husband's permission. If not, it was her father. So look how long ago that just changed.
That was recent. That was recent.
So now you're telling them that you're a trans woman and you want the rights that women have fought for, that we didn't want to give them, but they fought for and got anyway.
Mhm.
But they're law, they're not under the Constitution. Whoa, hold up. We got to change. Now we got to include you.
Right.
And I love my brothers, but most of my brothers are stealth.
True.
You would never know unless you knew beforehand.
Right.
And that's the thing that people don't understand. Hormone therapy changes you. So
Yes.
for F to M, you would never know. For M to F, if you changed after the age of 18, after the age of 30, certain characteristics about you are not going to change. Your skin may get softer, you lose muscle mass, your voice is going to get a little lighter, but that's about it.
Mhm.
Unless you're going to pay for all this surgery, unless your face is different, you're not going to have a pear-shaped face. You're not going to be, demure in height or stature because you've already been through puberty. So those things about you are not going to change. Laverne Cox is an example. If she had changed for puberty, she would have been taller, but she wouldn't have been as tall if she had started. So that changing later, the effects are irreversible. You can't get past those effects.
Wait a minute. She transitioned. She didn't transition early. She transitioned in late, if I'm
She
mistaken.
she did, and that's what I'm saying. If she had transitioned earlier, the effect of puberty wouldn't have been as bad on her.
Oh, okay. I get what you're saying.
Because most trans women, if you transition after puberty, certain things about you are not going to change.
Right.
So those structures, when you take female hormones, they'll get softer, but they're not going to change completely to where they're not noticing.
Okay.
So you're always going to be noticed and looked at differently. In this country, a lot of women aren't that tall, they're not that built. So if they see you, they're like, uh-oh. And then, oh, okay, ooh. They're going to know something's different. Whereas in other countries, in Russia, other countries, women are built, they're more rugged, they're more strong because of the climate, what they have to do to live and survive. But in this country, they expect women to be demure, soft-spoken, shorter, not as tall, more graceful, not with big hands, So there's a lot of differences that are not going to happen. Serena Williams and her sister are big and bulky. They play tennis, they work out. But even with them, sometimes people question whether or not they are genetically female
Wow.
because of the way they're built. So in this country, our standard of beauty, our standard of femininity needs to change. It's like I said, our masculinity needs to change. If you see a brother who's shorter, not as built, not as much hair, his voice is not dark, not deeper, you question, oh, are you one of those? Are you kind of, it's questionable
Yeah.
because they have a standard that they hold you to that's not logical for everybody. So we have a lot of change to do in this country to educate our minds, educate ourselves, so we don't make the same mistakes over and over again.
Yeah, the problem is that now we're so far backwards to educate ourselves. It's going to be harder, I should say, to actually do that because you have so many people against all this stuff. You know, they're against transition. They're against. I had one article talking about the fact that was in Michigan say that you know if you use different pronouns according to how you were born, it's an abomination. You know what I'm saying? It's all that and then some that's happened over the last couple of weeks that makes me wonder if we will get educated at all. Because now, you know, and it's not, I mean, it's not even now, it's been before, but now it's so prominent because the fact that you got people actually saying, yes, we agree with it. We are 100%. And we're gonna fight through and through. It's not just a small number, it's a huge number.
But
But
you said a key word though
right.
in your statement, abomination. People are mixing religious beliefs,
Oh, let's not go
state
there.
and federal, and
Let's
they
not
need
go
a
there.
separation of church and state for a reason. Well, now your religious practices are not state and federal law. They should not be,
But you know
but
it
they
is.
but they want it to be because they want to be elected and reelected to a position.
Exactly.
So
Which
you got to fight
nuts.
their religious beliefs and state and federal law and kind of have a medium where you don't piss off people that support you financially, but you support those who are in your constituency that are different than what you feel religiously you should be promoting.
Right.
It's not fair.
It's not. It really isn't. Like I said, I can go over and over and over. It's just a lot of stuff. You got on the View. Whoopi Goldberg was stating about the fact how why we're going backwards in time.
Mhm.
It's oh my God, it's just so much that's happened. You got North Carolina passes a bill gender altering for minors. That was June 29th. So you're talking about this is all recent stuff.
Exactly.
It's so scary. And then, did you get to see the article about what's the worst states to live in right now because
Yeah.
of all this?
Hmm.
And we were amongst the top 10.
Yeah.
It's like I it's like where do you live without being afraid?
Unfortunately, there's a few states that support and love people who are different. And if they can afford to move, do so. But upon moving, you also think about medical care, job, and everything else. So it's kind of hard to finagle and move to a state that loves you, supports you, respects you as you are.
Mm-hmm.
And in the meantime, we have to hunker down, huddle down, and continue to voice and be a voice to say, hey, this isn't right. You can't just erase a group of people because you're not comfortable.
Right.
So it falls to those that have a voice to help those who find their voices to stand together. Because if we don't, it's going to go back to what the time we don't want.
Exactly. But here's the problem I have with that too. They want to get on board, right? But when it comes down to actually doing the work, according to my brother, the work, they don't. or either they get scared because the work may be too much or too heavy. I don't have a problem. Like I told everybody that knows me, I know what I am, I know who I am, I know who I belong to, I know who I belong to, and all that. So for me to hide, I'm not gonna hide it. I'm just not, because I know I've done hiding for too long. And it's people that's out here that want to, you know, walk in front of the flag, but don't want to do the work. So why walk with the flag if you don't want to do the work? And that's why I'm having these issues. Because at the end of the day, all said and done, if you want to walk with the flag, do the work that that flag takes. Do the work like these, like podcasts. Do the work like standing up. Do the work like going to an event. Do the work like, there's a lot of things that we can do out here. It is no longer, it's no longer a choice. You have to show your voice. You got to be in the number. It is no longer the fact that you just cannot sit there and don't let nothing happen. We have gone too long, too far in our country. And I do say our country, even though, yeah, and we may have arguments about this too. I get it. But the fact is, now we live here. We are Americans, and we have the right to fight for what belongs to us. So this sitting back, it can't happen no more. It just cannot happen anymore. Be a voice, be a beacon of light, show the people that you care. Go vote. Don't, oh my God, the biggest thing for this year's election is go and vote. Do you know this electoral year is so important?
Mhm.
Only because you got the president and the House and the Senate all
Mhm.
rolling this time. It's not just one. You got a number of states who are up,
That's right.
who's up this year. And I guarantee you, if you guys don't take a stance and vote and make a difference, watch. You're gonna want to vote in somebody in office because you didn't take the time to actually go to a voting place and vote, and then you'll sit there and complain. Don't complain. Don't complain if you don't do the work. Don't complain if you don't go out there and vote. Don't complain if you do something you're not supposed to. Don't complain if things don't happen the way you want them to. Don't complain just because. Don't complain. At the end of the day, so said and done, you have got to do the work. For me, the work is a podcast. That's how I can do it. I can voice my opinion more than write. I'm sorry. I'm a person who speaks. I can speak very clear about what I want to say, but writing is not my forte. Therefore, a podcast became a thing to me. So when God gave me this, I said, okay, I'll take it because I know my platform. This is it for me. But there are people out there who actually can do the marching, that could do the protest, that could stand out there and actually do what you gotta do to make this work. 2024, oh my God, it's got to be the year. This year in November, if you guys don't vote, don't talk to me. I'm going to go vote. I am going to let my voice be heard. I am going to let people know I am not standing for this no more. I don't care. Florida, oh Lord, we won't talk about that state.
And
It's too much
also,
to talk
I want to
about.
I want to suggest to our people that are watching, some of you don't vote because you don't want to vote with your dead name. And I understand you don't like it, it's not who you are. However, in this instance, use your authority, use your power to
Exactly.
vote the people in office that will support you in your authentic selves. If you can't march, go to office somewhere and volunteer. Put in
Mm-hmm.
time, do what you can do to make things happen in a better life for yourself, not just for your people to come behind you, but for yourself. You don't have to always be in front of a flag, holding up signs saying yada, yada, yada. The things you do behind the scene help make the wheel turn, help make things better for you in your present situation. And I agree with what Elder said. Voting is important. And also showing up and putting your voice in to your local congressmen, the lawmakers to understand and know that you are here. I'm in your district. I put you in office. I help vote you out of office. Make your voice and your rights heard, because if you
Mhm.
don't, they don't know what to say. We had a town hall meeting 2 weeks ago, and it was half packed. It should have
And
been
that's
fully
sad.
packed because
Exactly.
they were talking about healthcare rights for not just the LGBTQ population, but for everybody. There was money allocated for people of color and brown and people of of the hues to get health care and get health rights and get things taken care of with your health. And only 10% of the people in that room took advantage of it. It was free services. All you do is show up, sign up, and get the service. Where was everybody? I understand you want to live stealth, you want nobody to know your business, but sometimes being stealth means sliding into a room, getting the services, getting information, having your voice heard, and then sliding back out the room. And
Yep.
no names were taken in the room unless you wanted to have services. Then you went to a private room and got that done. So you have no excuses anymore. You have none.
Nope, not one, not one. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about making a difference. We can sit there and put ad on ad on ad on ad on, or stuff all day in Facebook. But the only way you can make a difference is taking your two little feet and two little hands and going out there and making a difference. Like I said, my lane is podcast because I know this little thing I got right here is a double-edged sword. Trust me, I know. But I use it for a positive and not a negative. Only because of the fact I know how to voice. I cannot write. I can, but I just don't have the patience for it. This I have the patience for. This I don't. So for me, this is my arena right here. But if this is not your arena, and if you feel the need to go out there and actually do the work, as my brother asked himself, do the work, do the work, do the work. We cannot just stand here any longer. There's too many of us out here. And I'm telling you, don't be afraid because you feel like, oh, if I put myself out there, that everybody will know me. Who cares? Fine. You want to sit there and actually be what you are, then sometimes you have to sometimes you have to take a leap of faith. That's all I'm saying. In order for you to be what you are, take a leap. A leap can do so much. If you don't leap at all and you're out there in the background talking about, well, I'm so sorry, I wish things would have been better, then you didn't do the work. You didn't do anything to protect my brothers and sisters. I'm doing the work. I'm actually on a podcast protecting mine because I know at the end of the day, all said and done, somebody's going to listen to this somewhere, somehow, and they're going to get the idea and say, you know what? He may have a thing. Yeah, I do. Because at the end of the day, all said and done, I'm not sitting up here just preaching. I'm sitting up here teaching and making sure you guys understand that this doesn't make any sense. We are now in a fight for our lives. We are now in a fight to make sure we don't get exterminated. We are now in a fight to make sure we are in a fight to make sure we are not forget that we are not forget.
And remember the old cartoon that was put out years ago, and it's still out to this day. And it was about Teletubbies, SpongeBob,
Yes, I remember
and
that.
then SpongeBob didn't speak when they came for the Teletubbies because he wasn't a Teletubby. And when they came for him, there was no one to speak up for him because the Teletubbies were gone. So you can tell your story better than anyone else can.
Yep.
Don't be the last one standing. Now you're by yourself because no one's speaking for you. Because everyone that you didn't speak up for is now gone.
Mm-hmm.
You have to support each other. If they're coming for one, they're coming for all.
That's for sure. And
Whether
that's
you
real.
whether you are stealth, out, kind of out, however you want to define it, it affects everyone. Everyone. If you're not the T, you're the L, you're the G, you're the B. It affects you.
And that's the problem. The problem people think is that it does not affect me. Oh, guess what? It does. Because each letter in the community, if we get affected, guess who they're coming for next? They're coming for the L's. And you don't think they're not affected? They're coming for the B's. and you think they're not affected, they're coming for each number, each letter in this community. Trust and believe, this is not just a trans war. It's not just a trans fight. It is now a fight amongst the community. We are being exterminated bit by bit. And only because you got a whole lot of people out there who are using the Bible as a point. And like we learned, and I'm pretty sure you remember, Pastor, like we learned, the Bible is an interpretation. It is not reality. I'm so sorry if you feel it is. It is not. It is only interpretation, and everybody interprets the Bible differently.
And
So,
ladies that you don't think coming for you, all the drag kings, the drag
mhm,
law affects you as well, because you are a woman dressing as a man for performance and money. It affects you. So all the masculine identified lesbians that are masculine identified, it affects you because
right.
you're stopped on the street and your ID still says female, you're just like a dude. In some states, they could arrest you. So it affects you as well, because technically you're in drag. So it affects you. So don't think about, oh, well, I can pass, I can do this. Honey, if you're stopped and they do a strip search and you don't have male parts, you're going to the female jail and they're still going to arrest you for dressing against the code.
Mm-hmm.
So don't think it doesn't affect you. It does.
Trying to tell you, this is the
It does.
truth. This is the truth. The truth is that we are all God's children, and we have got to learn now to save each other. There is no if and or but behind this. It is now a fight for everybody.
Mhm.
Our lives are up and our lives are being attacked bit by bit. And if you think it's not, I got news for you. Yeah, better learn quickly because we are being extinct bit by bit. And it's not just the trans community, y'all. It really isn't. Because each day I hear that someone else got killed and somebody else got shot and something else got happened only because of what you believe in. So it's not just the trans community, it is every single person within our own. And we got to stop being selfish, y'all. We have got to stop being selfish. It is time to say we are one community joined together to actually fight for each other. That has been my biggest issue in this community. All because, oh, well, we're a bunch of lesbians over here, and we're a bunch of bisexual over here, and we're a bunch of gay men over here. Honey, what do you gay men do? You dress up as what? Guess what, y'all? Y'all are targeted too. And like my pastor said, guess what? You lesbian who sit there and actually dress because of performance, guess what you are too? Let's be honest. You're a target as well. So let's revamp, shall we? Okay, I'll start
And before you
now.
start, I challenge everyone to look up the laws on the books in your state to see what's a law and what's in the Constitution.
Mhm.
And look up how the laws affect people of color, brown and tan, and any other thing that's non-Caucasian. Look up the law and see what laws are there, and know that they're laws, which means they can change at any given moment. Congress wants to change them. Look them up and see exactly how much freedom you have, and then say we're gonna sit back and do nothing.
You'd be surprised.
Exactly.
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. Them things you think that are in the books, they're not. Them things that you say, oh, wait a minute, I thought this was. It's not. It's not. And like she said, according to the Constitution, everything that we have on platform is not in writing, is only in a law. And law, and like she said, laws can be changed. So now and that's the thing, they're being smart about it. They're actually stating, okay, since this is a law, we're gonna change it. Since it's not a constitution, we're gonna change it. Since it's not the only thing Constitution says is that we are the people. But and all the stuff in between can be fixed.
Remember, when that Constitution was written, people of anything was non-Caucasian was not considered people. We were
Right.
considered property. So, as property, what does that mean? We were owned by someone else.
Mm-hmm.
So, don't sit back and, oh, the Constitution is going to protect me. It wasn't written to protect any of us. If you are non-Caucasian, the Constitution is not meant to protect you. It wasn't written to protect you. That's why laws were invented to protect us.
Mm-hmm.
We're not included in the Constitution.
We're not.
So be mindful of that before you start sitting back on your high horse. Oh, I'm protected by the Constitution. Not.
We're not.
Look at the laws in your state. Look at the laws in the state next to you and see how they differ from state to state.
Mm-hmm.
One
Especially
boundary.
the southern states. Especially the southern states. Y'all need to really pay attention. Oh, yeah, you guys in Florida, pay attention. Pay attention. Because you got South Carolina and this state, this proud, let me say, we all live in North Carolina. Yeah,
Exactly.
we need to pay attention to these laws here too, because they are out there and they are out there to change these daggone laws. Florida, yeah, that man down there, he's actually smart. He actually looked up every single law and made it unconstitutional. Only because that everybody down there saying, well, we're fine. No, we're not. You got a man down there who's changing everything. Why and how? He's very smart. Pay attention. We're trying to tell you, pay attention. And like I said, this is not something to fall back on. It's not something to sit on. It's not something actually to say it does not affect me. Yes, it does. So my advice to you and everybody else out there is please, please stay alert. Please start fighting. Your voice, your writings, you whatever you got to do to make yourself be heard, please start today, because these laws affect you as much as they affect everybody else. It is now time as a community to get together and actually be a community, not be separate. We can't afford to be separate anymore. It's just time. It's just time.
Yep.
2023 is a time, and we are in desperate need to fix a lot of stuff that has got broken. And now it's time to refix and get it right. Get it right.
Music, do it through your poetry, do it through your spoken word, do it through your artwork, your art designs, your clothing lines. You have more than one way that you can express yourself and make your presence known. Do so.
Exactly. Find your platform. Find your platform and make it known. You can do a lot in the pulpit. Believe you me, I know. You can do a lot in the pulpit. And you'd be quite surprised. People follow you because you did everything in that pulpit that made sense. You could do a lot through poetry. You could do a lot through music. People follow poetry, people follow music, and people follow things that make sense. Somehow they figure out how it makes sense to them, so therefore they're gonna follow it. So it may not be popular, but you follow it only because it makes sense to you. My advice is please stop fighting. Please stop fighting amongst each other, and let's support one another. It is time, please. It is time for yeah, she's right, it's past time. But now it's time. 2023 is going to be a vulnerable year. We got the president's race. We got the Secretary of State. We got a whole bunch of House of Representatives up this year. We got a whole bunch of senators up this year.
Secretaries of State.
A whole bunch of them. Just and don't fall prey to ignorance. I'm trying to tell you.
For re-election. So check your state.
Yep. If you see them, if you see them out there, yep. If you see them out there and they're, how to say, well, vote for me, ask them, what's your stance on this? What's your stance on that? And you'll see that they'll line between it. Trust and believe, I have. Let's start today. Let's start to be a community and let's make them scared. It is now time. Thank you so much, Pastor. As always, I welcome you to come back again. Next week we'll have more people. Actually, no, I'm gonna do this again in 2 weeks.
Oh, I
So
enjoyed myself and I'm glad I was able to be there to help out.
I appreciate it. 2 more weeks. So now it won't be because my that next week will be I'll be out of town. So the weekend after, I believe it's the 21st of July. Please come back and watch us and pay attention. I'm gonna have this every 2 weeks until election day. We have got to stop moving. We have got to let people know we're not taking this anymore. And not just here. Every single state that gets this, please, please start. Today, tomorrow, there is no time. We have started today. Time waits for no man, and we are at a fight. We are at a fight now more than ever. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you,
God
Pastor. Thank you so
bless
much for actually
everyone.
being there. Thank you so much for being there. And we will have more people come on in 2 weeks. We will have more conversations about everything that's happening amongst the community. And trust and believe, it is a lot detailed because you guys think, oh, we saw this before. No, you have not. So I'm focusing on the why we're having these issues or why we're having these concerns, not just talk. It is depth detail about why it's happening the way it is. So again, my name is Najee Carter. I am a part of this lovely, I'm a head of this lovely thing, and we're gonna get it right somehow. We're gonna get it right. God gave me this platform and said, just save my children, didn't tell me how. Okay, so now we are all God's children, fact or fiction. Come back in 2 weeks and we'll have more conversations. Thank you so much and be blessed and have a great, great weekend.
Yes, good night, everyone.
All right, let me turn this off.